Wonderful. How wonderful it is to be back here. I met some of you last April. How many of you were here last April? Wonderful. So are all the rest of you beginners? How many of you who were not here last April are running your first race for the first time? The next April, next March for the WM. Okay, great. How many of you for the Malaysian Women's Marathon are going to be running your first marathon? Right. Those of you who put your hand up halfway.
Half marathon.
We know what that means. It means I hope, but I don't quite yet believe. So, as Karen said, if you believe, you will get there, okay? And you're in wonderful hands with this wonderful woman. She is a visionary, and she's of the greatest possible spirit. And I just want you to know that all of you, even those of you who are not runners, and all of the men who we love you guys, because you've done so many wonderful things for us, you're part of a bigger movement, a bigger sisterhood around the world, if you will, of women who become fearless from what they do. I'm going to talk about fearlessness in a minute, but you're part of a sisterhood of women everywhere who are discovering their bodies and their own capability and their own invincibility, and that they can do anything. And it's really funny or strange that just putting one foot in front of the other will give you that, but it will. It will. And everywhere you go, if you're a runner, it's a universal language. It's like music. And you'll have a friend everywhere in the world. So always remember that. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. So many of you know my story, so I'm going to tell it very briefly for those who don't know it. But many years ago, and I'm not going to tell you what the date is because we're going to have a little contest on this. Many years ago, I was the first woman to officially sign up and run the Boston Marathon. And the reason why the Boston Marathon was so important is because outside of the Olympic Games, it was the biggest and most important race in the world, marathon. And anybody who could reasonably finish it was welcome. And so I had grown up on stories of hearing about this amazing race. And when I was 19 years old, I decided I was going to run it. And I was at Syracuse University, and while I was there, I started hearing about other women who were runners, and throughout history there had been about 8 women who had actually run a marathon. And even at Boston, that year before, a woman jumped out of the bushes and ran the Boston Marathon. So, it had been done. So it really wasn't impossible. But nobody received any recognition for it. Nobody had signed up. Nobody was counted as official. And it was considered a men's-only event. But at Syracuse University, I was training with the men's cross-country team. They really welcomed me to come out, but I couldn't be on the team, but they let me train with them. And one of the guys who was the assistant coach was this really old guy named Arnie Briggs, who was a former marathon runner. And when I say he was really old guy, he was 50. I mean, that's ancient. When you're 19, that's ancient, right? And he helped me train for the Boston Marathon. Once he was convinced that I could do it, I had to prove to him in practice, because he didn't believe a woman could do it, but when I showed him that I could do it, he was really convinced, and he helped me sign up for the race. Now, because my name has an odd spelling, and also because I wanted to be a journalist and signed with my initials, and I admired writers like J.D. Salinger, I always signed my name K.V. Switzer with my initials. And so when I signed up for the Boston Marathon, my coach insisted that I sign up for the race because it was, a serious race. So I signed the entry form K.V. Switzer. And I said to him, do you think this is against the rules because other women haven't done this? And he said, other women haven't done it because they don't believe they can do it, and that they feel they're too weak and too fragile, and you are really very great and you've trained for this. And I said, but still, it might be against the rules. And we looked it up in the rule book, and there was nothing in the rule book about it. And on the entry form, there was nothing about gender. So at this time, they assumed no woman would want to run. So I said, boy, I said, Arnie, I'm going to be noticed at the Boston Marathon. Everybody's going to be looking at me. He said, I know. And I'm proud of you. It was really nice, so that's one reason why I always thank the men in my life and the guys who are here, because men in running have always been supportive of women in running. So they've been very, very helpful, and I know in this race they are too. Well, okay, so what happened is that I officially signed up. I wasn't trying to prove anything because other women in history had run the marathon, not many, and I was really proud of myself because I had trained very hard. And the day of the Boston Marathon, it was snowing and sleeting, and everybody was in a baggy warm-up suit, including me. So from a distance, we all looked alike. And my coach picked up the numbers for our team. There were a group of us, guys and me, and we pinned on our bib numbers. I was so excited. And down the street we went when the gun went off, and we were so happy, as you are, for the first, 4 kilometers of a marathon, and then it gets a little serious. But at the 4-kilometer mark, the press truck came by us, and they went crazy. There's a girl in the race, and she's wearing numbers. This is an exact replica of my number, okay? She's wearing numbers, and they took pictures of me, and we were waving, hello, 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 hello. When all of a sudden, the race director, like the male version of Karen Love, okay, was on the press truck. He lost his temper. Seeing a girl in his race made him look like a fool, he thought. He jumped off this bus, ran down the street, and attacked me, grabbed me, and threw me back in the race, and screamed at me, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers, and tried to pull my numbers off. And I was so scared, I just burst into tears, and I tried to get away from him, and he had me by the shirt, and he kept pulling me back like this. And my coach, Arnie, he was screaming at me, leave her alone, she's okay, she's okay. I trained her with my boyfriend, who was also running with me, big guy, a really big guy, twice as big as you, 3 times as big as you and you all together, okay? It was a big football player, right? He threw a block into the official and sent the official flying through the air and out of the race. And my little coach said, run like hell. And down the street we went as fast as we could go. Now, there's a reason this number has the corner turned off of it, because this is a number, we had numbers on our front and numbers on our back. And I jumped away from him when he tried to get the number off my front. But he caught this number on my back, but he only ripped the corner, see? From the pin. And so all the time during the race, it was like, and I went on to finish that race, but it was a moment that changed my life. I was a young girl. I was so happy to be there. This man attacked me, and he only attacked me because I was a woman. And I suddenly realized that no matter what happened, I had to finish the race. I had to finish the race. And I told my coach I was going to finish on my hands and my knees if I had to. I became so angry because I knew that if I didn't finish the race, everybody would go, see, women can't do it. She shouldn't be here. Women are incapable. And I just had to finish the race. And a marathon is a very long way. And for those of you who are running your first one, it is a life-changing experience. And every marathon you go through, you go through almost a lifetime of experience. And what happens also is you have a lot of time to think. And you're training, a lot of time your brain is really very active. There's a lot of oxygen and a lot of endorphins and things are happening. And you think of amazing things and you come to a lot of resolution as well. The amazing thing about running, I had almost 40 Ks to run, right? And these 38 Ks in this race to run. And you cannot run 38 Ks and stay angry. You can't. The anger goes away. And somewhere, over in Boston, there's this amazing hill called Heartbreak Hill. And it's just at about the 35K mark in the race. And at about that moment, I stopped being angry with this race director. And I realized he was a man who was simply a product of his time. It wasn't his fault. He was an old, it's like Karen Lowe, why she didn't lose her cool last year. Because you're so hassled and you're so exhausted being a race director. And I knew he was exhausted. I knew he was tired. I knew he thought I was making fun of him. He didn't believe I was serious. And he was a product of his time about women. And so I suddenly said, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. What you do with anger is the best thing is you take the anger, you turn it around, and you try to make it better. And so I said, the reason he's angry is he doesn't believe in women. And then I got angry about women. I said, well, where are the other women? Why aren't there women here? And then I realized that they didn't have the same opportunities that I had. You know, where my dad encouraged me to run. And I met this guy, Arnie, and I had a neat team at the university. And I said, they're not here because they're afraid. You know, they believe all the old myths, you know, that you're going to turn into a man, or you're going to get big legs, or you're going to grow hair on your chest, and you're never going to have babies. You know, these are all the things that they told you. And I thought, if I could only change that, and the way I can change that is by creating an opportunity for women. I just want to tell you one thing that I'd like you to really remember from my talk today, okay? Is that opportunity is everywhere. Everywhere. It's wait, let me start again. I lost my oxygen running around the lake. Talent is everywhere. Talent is everywhere. It only needs an opportunity, okay? So you create an opportunity, people will come. Karen Lowe and Fred and these guys have created a wonderful opportunity. And that's for you, because it will help you change your life. I often say, I started that Boston Marathon as a young girl, and I ended the race as a grown-up woman. And I think that it is because this event changed my life. It was an absolute amazing awakening for me. So one of the things, and this is one of the things I want the Avon ladies who are here today, the Avon representatives, the executives who are here, especially to hear this amazing story. When it came to creating opportunities, I knew that all the committee meetings in the world weren't going to work, that we needed to put women's running on the map with a beautiful corporate sponsor. And I wrote a proposal and I took it to Avon Products in New York City. And the proposal was how to create a series of races for women to help them develop, to have a clinic and training series such as Karen is doing here, to bring women along. You can't put on a race and tell somebody to come and run it if they don't know how. So you need some training, you need some confidence, you need to know how to get shoes and to stretch and to run. And so I did a series of clinics, and then we put on these races, and I took the proposal to Avon. And Avon loved this proposal, and we began organizing these events. We started with one big race, then we had 6 in the United States, and within 18 months we were in 5 countries, and within 2 years we were in 20 countries. And at the height of its program, we had 400 races in 27 countries and over 1 million women participating. And we even had races here in Malaysia in the early 1980s. 81, 82, 83, 84. It was a half marathon and a 10K race, series of races. It was out by the stadium. I can't quite remember where it is because KL has changed so much since those years. And those women then who won the race came on and went on to a global championship, which was in a major capital of the world, all over the world, like Ottawa or San Francisco, Paris, London, amazing places. And so, you know, Malaysian women were represented there. And together, Avon and the lobbying we did, we took these events, the numbers, the performances of the women, to the International Olympic Committee, and proved that we had enough women, enough international representation, enough capability, and that's what got the women's marathon in the 1984 Olympic Games. That is one of Avon's greatest legacies. It's something I'm sure that many people at Avon don't know now, because it has been, that started back in 1978. It went through 1985. After the event was included in the Olympic Games, Avon stopped that program and did some other really good charitable work. But then again, in 1998, we began the program again. We had 5K races starting in downtown Kuala Lumpur with many thousands of women. It was really, really amazing. and that program went into 2003. So we have a wonderful history here of running, and globally, Avon really has changed the world, and we just like to thank you all again. It's just been phenomenal. What we have done. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the greatest legacies, because let me tell you, when the first woman, her name was Joan Benoit, came into the Olympic Stadium in 1984, there were 90,000 people in the stadium. When she came out of the tunnel into the stadium, everybody came to their feet and screamed and cheered for her. And I was doing the television commentary that day for ABC Sports in the United States. It was very hard for me not to cry because I was trying to be a journalist, trying to be objective. But the important thing about that is, it wasn't the 90,000 people in the stadium. It was the 2.2 billion people who saw it on television. And so all over the world, everybody knows that 42.2 kilometers is a long race. You know, even people who live in the remotest regions of Afghanistan have walked it or ridden a donkey or ridden a bicycle. They know it's far. It's really far. And here were women doing it with incredible speed and grace and heroic capability. To me, what Avon did that day with getting that marathon in the Olympic Games was almost as important, or was important in a way, as giving women the right to vote. And I'll tell you why, because getting the right to vote is about social and cultural and intellectual acceptance. The marathon and the women acknowledgement of women being able to do it in the Olympic Games was the physical acceptance. Because if you can run a marathon, you can do anything, male or female. So that's a great, great legacy for this wonderful company. The world's, was at the time, I don't know if it still is, the world's largest cosmetics company. And it was so great because Avon was never just about putting lipstick on. It was always about giving women an opportunity to succeed in business and an opportunity to participate in life. The Avon representative is a participatory person. So that's why this program really worked and will always work. So that's a little bit of history now. Okay, before we do questions, we're going to have a contest. And the person who knows the answer to the question gets me to sign this bib for them, okay? I've only got one of them. I've only got one of them. And I'm going to tell you, when you see the other side of the bib, there's actually an invitation on the other side of the bib for a press conference. And the press conference is for a race called the 261 Women's Marathon, which is going to be in Mallorca, Spain, the end of March 30th. That's why I can't be with you guys for your race in March. It's the inaugural Women's 261 Marathon, and it's about, obviously it's named after my bib, which has come to mean fearless. It's about giving women in Southern Europe, North Africa, and the Mideast their first opportunity in running. And we're very, very excited about it. Karen?
I'm just going to add on something. Ladies, if you are running the full marathon, and I'm going to give you a little surprise. I'm trying to find some sponsors so that the champion gets to represent Malaysia in the 261 Women's Marathon. You guys helping us push out more awareness of, what's good about Malaysian Women Marathon. It will come our way, and I will ensure that our champion represents Malaysia to this marathon.
And you know what? Karen is so great about this because we both know the trajectory right now of women's running is off the charts. In North America, there are more women runners than men. With all due respect, you guys, 55% of all the runners in Canada and the United States are women now. And that's happening all over the world.
And we're far behind. We're only 12%. So we're going to push it up, yeah?
But what's interesting about the idea, and we talked about this last night at dinner, is that maybe through the vehicle of this funny number, 261, we're going to form like an umbrella organization around the world where we can communicate, talk to each other, know that we're part of a broader sisterhood. Maybe we're hoping to have a whole lot of events, maybe not just 261 events.
That's right.
But,
the Malaysian Women Marathon, part of a worldwide organization.
Or like the Caracas Women's Marathon or the Paris Women's Marathon or something. but if they're under the 261 umbrella, we can communicate with each other and have a network. So anyway, that's what our dream is. It's
That's
all
what we're gonna
started.
do.
It's all started. Now, the first person to raise their hand that knows the year. Okay, I'm gonna go with you in black. And are you sure you know the answer to the question?
She's gonna have to answer.
You're gonna have to answer it before I finish the question. You got it. That's impressive.
Yeah, her name's Asha, and she's a veterinarian.
I tell you, that's very impressive. And it was 1967 when I first ran the Boston Marathon. What's impressive about it is she was not even born then. So anyway, all right. Let me sign this for you in a moment. But you want to stay up here and take some questions with us, or you want to sit down and I'll do it? Okay. Oh, okay.